Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. The leftist. One of the most predictable characters in the game. It's almost as if everything they do is telegraphed. You can see it coming from a mile away. It's the same pattern of behavior over and over again. Here's a typical repeated pattern. Denial of reality. Whenever reality slaps a leftist in the face, the initial reaction is usually stick your head in the sand and pretend like it's not happening or like you heard nothing. If the tree falls down in the middle of a forest, does it really exist? Well, just retroactively apply that to bad news that people tell you, put them in the junk pile at the back of your brain and delete them from your memory. No, that's not really happening, or I never heard of that. There's a crisis happening at the border, leftoid. Here's video evidence. The border is secure, they say. All right then, I guess we're living in leftist la-la land. It's always the same thing. If it's good, well, you gotta take credit. If it's bad, it either doesn't exist or it's Donald Trump's fault somehow, through some twisted manipulation of logic. Well, we got another one of those denial of reality moments. The current reality that's hitting leftoids at the moment is the systematic demographic ditching that's currently going on at the Democrat Party. Important voter groups are ditching the Democrats like we've never seen before. And let's just say leftists are struggling to cope a little. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, folks, just take a look at the utter meltdown that Sunny Hostin suffered the other day at The View.
So it comes down to the messaging is not making it.
Can I just say,
people.
just very quickly, I know I have a legal note. 83% of black registered voters identify as or lean Democratic. 81% of black men, 81% are in the Democratic Party. So I don't want to hear anymore that black men are voting for Trump. Black women resoundingly will show up for Biden, and they're going to bring their sons, they're going to bring their grandsons, they're going to bring their husbands, and the black vote will turn out for President Biden.
Sonny, that's a reference to a poll that says he used to have a 92%.
Yeah, screw what the polls say. Just act all sassy and go on some rallying cry, some incoherent rant about how women are going to be dragging their sons and husbands to the polls. What an insult to independent black men. She's almost categorizing men here as some sort of empty-headed, brain-dead Homer Simpson, a useless fart drooling while watching the TV, getting dragged to the polls, forced by their wife to vote for some vegetable in the White House. What an incredibly insulting notion. But essentially what you saw there is, the typical Democrat reaction. Here's the data, here are the polling numbers. This is what we're seeing. Well, disregard all the data, all the science, all the facts, and in response, an incoherent theatrical presentation about why you should vote for the vegetable. Just a finger-snapping sassy rant. The typical Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez approach. Ignore the facts and just focus on the feelings. Well, unfortunately for you leftoids, no deal, facts don't care about your feelings, and the facts are pretty clear here. Black voters are ditching the Democrats, whether Sunny Hostin likes it or not.
We see a clear decline in support. At this point, Joe Biden's just getting 70% of the black vote. 4 years ago at this point, he was at 81%. Look at that doubling of support for Donald Trump from 10% up to 21%. Boris, Brianna, if that held through the election, it would be the best performance for a Republican presidential candidate among black voters in 64 years, since Richard Nixon back in 1960.
Current CBS News battleground tracking polling, for example, in Pennsylvania among likely black voters compared to 4 years ago in the exit polls, he's down 10% among them, with former President Donald Trump making gains.
Recent NBC News polling shows that President Biden's support among black voters has dropped since 2020. Back then, exit polls showed black voters supported Biden over Trump by 75 points. Now, that Biden advantage has narrowed to 58 points.
Reading in the crosstabs, the most important part, as Phil reminds us, just all of those, from women to Hispanic voters. Black voters, 22% of black voters behind Trump. That is not seen in the modern era for a Republican frontrunner, right? I mean, wow.
But look at this number for Donald Trump, 22%. Where was Donald Trump at this point 4 years ago in the polls? He was just at 9% of the vote. So he's seen more than a doubling in his support among African Americans.
John, there is significant softness in the support for Joe Biden among core Democrats. In this poll, he's carrying black voters by 61 points. Well, that sounds like a lot, but he carried them by 84 points back in 2020.
You know, that right there is what they don't want you to see. That's what they're in denial about. Whether they like it or not, it's happening, and it's happening big time. Some polls are showing 20, even 30-point shifts. It's almost like the Great Red Migration. And just to be the bearer of further bad news, I regret to inform you, leftoids, that it's not just black voters. As your friend Charlemagne pointed out aptly,
why do you think he's falling short among black voters?
I think that, it's not even just black voters. As you see, it's Latino voters, it's youth voters. I think my man Tim Ryan coined the perfect phrase when he said that, most people in America are part of the exhausted majority.
it's also young voters. The numbers there also quite brutal.
Take a look here. Age 18 to 24. Biden won this group by 32 points last cycle over Donald Trump. Look at where the polling is now. Joe Biden still leads, but just by 7 points. That is a drop, John. Let's see if I can do this math. I believe it is a drop of 25 percentage points. And compare that to the rest of the electorate, where we're looking at a fairly similar race to where we were 4 years ago, where Joe Biden won those voters by 2 points last time around. Now Donald Trump leads by 2, so that's a movement of 4 points. But 4 points, I don't need to tell you, John, is significantly less than movement of 25 points among those voters under the age of 25.
Biden's support with young people ages 18 to 24, according to this CNN poll, hypothetically is down 25 percentage points. He's not only down with black voters, not only down with Hispanic voters, but Democrats with Joe Biden on the ticket are down significantly with their bread and butter, most favored, most sought after polling group, young people. They're jumping ship like never before. And honestly, the cherry on top, the worst thing of all, on top of this mass Democrat ditching, we've got a catalyst to add to the formula here in the form of big enthusiasm problems.
There's also this. We found an enthusiasm gap between the two parties. We asked folks on a scale of 1 to 10, how enthusiastic are you about the presidential election? And you can see Republican to Democrat, there is a gap right there. Where's the lag for Democrats? We found a couple places. Non-white voters, you can see significantly less enthusiastic than white voters. And then how about this age gap? The youngest group of voters who Democrats have been trying to get excited and motivated, nearly 50 point gap there.
So really an uphill battle to try to make sure voters don't stay home if you're Democrats.
So down in the head-to-head polls, down nationally, down with some very important voting demographics, and on top of all of it, no enthusiasm, no real motivation for people to rush to the polls in November. And the most pathetic part of all is how the Democrats are reacting or handling it. They're just pretending it isn't happening. Jen Psaki had the same approach on MSNBC.
That the Biden administration and the president himself is now, according to some people, competing with Donald Trump for the black vote in the black communities in this country. How can that be the case?
They have to move on from accomplishments and getting credit for accomplishments and make it all about the contrast of what a Biden and Trump presidency would be. You can see them moving into that stage, but I think there's a couple factors at play here, and it's really about bringing people home to who they pulled the lever for before.
They're just gonna come home. It's essentially the softened up version of if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black.
If you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
It's the same thing. Well, we're not worried about it. We know we're struggling with this particular voting group, but they're gonna come home and vote for us anyways. Their moms and wives will see to it. Look, maybe they know something that I don't. Maybe that's the right strategy here, or maybe Democrats are in for a very unpleasant surprise. I guess we'll have to see now, won't we? Anyways, that's pretty much what I got for you guys on this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.